everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to make a coconut loaf cake. It's one of my favourites and I've been making it for years, but what's interesting is it is very similar to the ones that you get in the coffee shop that are delicious, but they cost an absolute fortune for a slice, so we're going to make the whole loaf cake. So get your oven on to 160 degrees Celsius, line a loaf tin or butter it, grease it, whatever you want to do. Then you're also going to need some desiccated coconut and some jam for topping it later. Then we've got 75 grams of desiccated coconut. We're going to add about 150 ml of milk to that to hydrate it and make it really nice and lovely for the cake, so it's got a lovely moisture to it. 100 grams of caster sugar. The original recipe was 175 years ago, but I cut it down because you really don't need that extra sweetness. Then we've got 175 ml of your chosen oil. It can be any vegetable oil, it can even be olive oil, it won't change the taste. You could cream the butter and sugar together if you want to switch it out for butter, but I think oil makes it a more moist cake. And apologies if you hate the word moist, I don't mind it, but I know a lot of people hate it. 2 eggs, and then as you can see there, it's 225 grams of self-raising flour. And this is what we're going to do. Right, so let's get started. We're going to add this milk. I'm going to wing it, but it's round about 150 ml. I'm winging it because I've been making this for so long, and that's just going to gently hydrate. You can give it a mix if you want to, but I'll mix it nearer the time. Right, next we're going to, now you don't actually need to cream the sugar and the oil because it's pretty much already melted, but what you can do, if it's the butter or margarine, is cube it. And again, if you're trying to make this vegan, then you'll know yourself what you're going to switch out. So give this a little mix. It mixes quite easily. And this is such an easy cake to make. You know the coffee shops that I'm talking about, and they have the really nice loaf cakes in them. And it's maybe, here in the UK, it's about £2.20, £2.50 for a slice. We can make this, I reckon, for under £1 for the full cake. Look, that's so easy. That's it. Just always looking for anything that just makes your life a little bit easier. So we're now going to crack 1 egg in and then a little bit of flour so that we don't have a situation where it curdles. Just give it a little mix. Again, you can do your folding, you want to maximise your air in it too. This is definitely one of those cakes where there'll be a fight to lick the bowl. That's that, don't need to be too fussy. Second egg. A little bit of flour. And just encourage that egg to mix in. Going to also do some savoury dishes too. Baking is the thing that I just find very relaxing and very therapeutic. I always think when you're making something that you would actually eat as a dinner or a snack, you open yourself up to more criticism because people are like, I wouldn't do it like that, I wouldn't add that, I wouldn't do that. Whereas with a cake, there tends to be a standard way, but I'll add some things and then you can all tell me how you would do it. Right, so let's add our coconut in. We can give it a little mix, just make sure that the milk... Now some people would actually leave this overnight, but the truth is, it doesn't really matter because everything's going to do its job when it's in the mix anyway. Look, you can see that's pretty much doing what you need it to do. And because of my need to completely clean a bowl when I'm adding in an ingredient, I think I'm going to have to give this one up because how am I going to get every single grain of coconut out of here? But believe me, if I wasn't filming this, I'd get every single grain. So this makes me sad, but I'll have to deal with it. So give that a little mix in. Again, it doesn't have to be your standard milk, it can be your milk substitute, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then the rest of our self-raising flour. Fold that in. And then once you're quite happy that it's folded in, it's just going to go into our tin, our loaf tin. And it comes together really quickly. And it's a reasonably thick batter. Think about, because you've got all of that coconut in it, that definitely thickens it up. So you're just making sure that you scrape those sides and you don't have any unmixed parts, especially when you see some flour down at the bottom. But if you do your folding, you'll keep it nice and light. And that's our batter. So that's now going to go into here. And then because it's a lower temperature than some cakes, it's probably going to be well over an hour. So the original recipe said about 1 hour 15, but I would suggest that you monitor it as you would do normally in your own oven. And if you find that the outsides are starting to cook and go quite dark brown quicker than the middle, then use that tip of covering those outsides with tin foil so that they don't burn. But that's us. So we're now in the oven for at least an hour, and we'll finish it off and decorate it when we're done. Right, here we go, it's out of the oven and it's looking perfect. Now that was about an hour, and after that hour it was nice and golden brown and it didn't have any wet in the middle, so the knife test was clean. And I have let it cool, but only because I decided to go and do some other things. Basically go and do other things. I was watching telly. So I am being productive, I promise you, but there was something on and I got absorbed in it, and normally I cannot wait to eat the cake, but it actually cooled as it should have done by accident because I was preoccupied. So now I'm going to finish topping it off with the jam and the desiccated coconut, and then you'll see the end result. Right, so I've just taken some jam out of the jar. You can put on as much as you like. I don't like to put too much on because I'm mindful that it is sugar. And then what we'll do is just spread that. Now, some of the cake recipes, when you get this cake, they'll say cover all of the sides. But again, that's lovely, but is it really necessary? You're going to get the taste anyway. So I would say if you're being mindful that you want to really enjoy it, but you don't want to be greedy, then just do the top. And I also learned a long time ago, and it's the same with lemon drizzle, which I think I'll try and do for you too, is that if you actually use the grease proof and then you keep it in the container, it's actually a lot easier to do the topping, because that way it's not going everywhere. I used to try and do it before when it was off, well, it was basically out of the container and just on a plate, and then what happens is everything just goes everywhere. So I've learned, so there's still residual heat here which warms up the jam and makes it easier to spread. Again, you can make it as thick a coating as you like, but my theory is, and it's a bit like when you're doing a face mask, you don't want to be tight with it, but if you know that you're getting the flavour anyway, then why make it too thick? There's no need. When you're doing a face mask, they always say that there's no point building it up too thick because it's the part that's in contact with the skin that's doing the work. So if you build it up, you're actually just wasting product. So I feel that that's the same with this. I could easily put more on, but what we can do is you can always put a little bit of jam on when you're having it with your tea or your coffee. This is potentially going to be messy because I made a mess of opening this, But I'm just going to finish with our desiccated coconut and just very gently sprinkle it over. And then the last thing to do is to lift it out, get it onto a plate and eat it. So again, we can just spread that around. Now you know that this is a classic sponge. You could just make it a jam sponge and leave out the coconut completely if you wanted. So let's get this onto a plate and cut ourselves a slice. So that's us taking it away. And what I'll do is I'll just cut a slice off just so you can see it just now. And then I'll move it properly onto a plate. So I'll just cut the end bit. Left-handed problems. And there, can you see? It's just a lovely, fluffy sponge, and that's going to have that really nice coconutty element all through it. So guess what I'll be eating for the rest of the day? Not even the rest of the week, just the rest of the day. Someone can have that bit, I'm having that bit. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you again soon.